Welcome to Good Morning, Anambra. It's Monday, the 3rd day of February 2025. How are you, Ajalo?
I'm good, Maya.
You look so great.
Thank you so much.
So
and
happy?
you? Yeah, well, thank God for today. It's a new week, and let's see what the new week holds for us.
All right, as you know, this is Good Morning, Anambra show. We've begun with the news, and following the news is the press review. Let's bring you some of our national dailies and see stories making the headlines.
Well, when we return on this short break that we're going, we'll be starting with news making the rounds on ABS websites. Don't go anywhere. The show is about to begin.
All right.
Glad to have you back, and quickly let's begin with the news making the rounds on ABS websites. And the first news we have for you this lovely morning is Ocha Brigade nabs 2 suspected drug peddlers, illegal street traders at Obunike. Also, we have Anambra Power Commissioner Chukwuemeka restates need for strong collaboration between Western and developing countries. Orumba South Council Chairman Azubike unveils skill development initiative at Umunze. NAFDAC worries over surge in drug abuse among secondary school students. Over 773 people killed in DRC as war escalates. That's what we have for you on ABS websites. Well, let's begin with the very first story that we have here.
Is it Ocha Brigade?
Yeah.
I would have loved us to look at this, the surge in drug abuse among secondary school students, because it did not actually start today. Before now, in Delta State, actually, it's in primary school, it's in secondary school, up to tertiary institute. So we're like, what will a primary school child be doing with drug? Who actually taught them? Where are they bringing it from? You know, so many questions, you know, be clouding our mind, looking at a child of, highest you have 10 years in primary 6. So who actually introduced the child to drugs in the first place? Have we failed as parents? There are so many questions, you know, have we failed? What are parents doing when you realize that your child is behaving somehow? Do you go ahead to do investigations and know what is happening? Where are all this coming from?
I think it's the environment that we find ourselves. And this get-rich quick syndrome that most people have, you know, cultivated over time. And they will just happen the fact that because government seems to have been failing them, and they go to school, graduate after huge money being spent on their education, they come out, no job, and then the next thing is they want to go and, you know, seek a means to survive, and then you see them either peddling drugs or selling drugs. And most times, you know, the issue with drug abuse and this issue of drug menace is that what goes around comes around. Sincerely speaking, you can't be a drug dealer and then you have your kids and you think that your kids are immune to the scourge, to the nuisance that you're constituting.
The children learn more from
exactly.
what they see.
You know, so you think that your children have some form of immunity. Sister, brother, if not in that same environment, somewhere your child will go and then have an idea that dad used to do things like this, mom used to do things like this, and he or she will want to try. And that is how drug abuse.
And, you know, I also see failure on the part of parenting.
Of course.
There's this saying when we were growing up, na nwa bu nwa.
Of course.
You know, that time you might be doing something wrong, a neighbor will see you and flog the hell out of you and flog you home.
And still tell you to go and tell your
parents.
Flog
you home. They will even flog you home, and your parents will greet them, thank them very well for doing that. Exactly. But these days, try and speak to somebody's child. The person will tell you, go and train your own child before. I think there is need for that communal lifestyle to come back.
Of course. You
know, a situation whereby you don't just see what your child does, and most times, children don't do bad things before their parents. They hide it. So it's actually other people around that will see that this child is taking this path, this wrong path, you know. So going back to communal life where your brother's keeper. I think it's equally important at this point to see whether we can bring this situation down to the barest minimum or curb it entirely. I don't know if there's any other story we look at before we move to the papers.
Yeah, let's talk on this. Anambra Power Commissioner Chukwuemeka restates need for strong collaboration between Western and developing countries. Sincerely speaking, ever since I was a child, I used to hear things about from PHCN. In fact, they said there was electric company, ECN, before it became PHCN, before it became NEPA, PHCN, and now we're having EEDC. And we're still having the same problem. That light is elusive.
Is name our problem?
You understand? So we keep changing the nomenclature of this establishment, but that service rendering is still elusive.
But now, calling on Western and Western countries, you know, to collaborate with them on issue of power. We give power to our neighbors. What happened?
Yeah, we give power to our
neighbors. And again, you are supposed to do play your own part. Yes, play your own part before you start calling me to come and help you. And if I come, if I'm wise enough, I'll ask you, Ajulu, what have you done, or what do you have that I should you know, build on to help you solve your problem?
Honestly speaking, we really need to know what to do, because of all the major nine power distribution or generation in the world, talking about solar, hydro, thermal, what is it called, coal, gas, and the rest of it all. Nigeria has 8.
They have all it takes.
Yeah, Nigeria has 8. These are domiciled in this part of the world. The only one we don't have is nuclear. And nuclear is the fact that we don't even want to generate it. We don't want to go sourcing for it.
Let me shock you, Ajulu. I've been in a place in this Nigeria. I don't want to call them. Let it not be as if I'm advertising the place. You know, that place, I was there for 4 days, and light did not bite eye, bleed and ink. Do you understand? There was light all through, and you can access internet. So upon inquiries, I learned that the man laid turbine in all the campus. So I was like, if an individual could do this, you know, what happened to us as a nation? You know, can't we borrow a leaf from the man, or go to plead him to let Nigeria know what he has done that makes light to be there 24/7? Even if they will take light, they'll just blink, and before you close your eyes and open it, the light is back. So since this thing could happen in Nigeria, you know, by one man, what are we waiting for? Can't we go and borrow a leaf? In fact, if you want to know about the man, you can meet me. Let me let you know who actually is that. All right, let's run. The first paper for review on the show this morning is the Daily Times newspaper. Let's see stories making their headlines. PDP will come out stronger from current crisis. That's coming from Zamfara governor. And there's no immunity to crime. DG wants core members. Maritime University Act will deepen peace in Niger Delta, says ex-IYC boss. Other stories, NGF congratulates Diri for emerging South-South chairman. Now Borno flood. Unimaid calls for more support. And Tinubu's snatch grab agenda will destroy Nigeria's democracy, coming from a strong opposition. Atiku Abubakar. All right. These are some of the stories we are tracking in front of the Daily Times newspaper. PDP coming out stronger from current crisis. I wonder the magic that will happen there.
Sincerely speaking, right from the era of when they lost power to APC, PDP seemed to have been a child that has lost bearing, like a ship that no longer has its compass or listening to the dictates of the captain. So you lose credibility when you have people that are selfish, grabbing power and hustling for power. So, but if you have the interest of the nation at heart, if what we have are Democrats, true Democrats, party affiliation shouldn't be the issue.
Honestly,
the issue should be Nigeria getting better.
You know,
you
because
understand? Irrespective of which
the
party
you belong to.
It should be Nigeria getting better. So, but unfortunately, in this part of the world, we've been, you know.
And apart from being a political party, whatever, you see individuals scouting for their own personal gains. What do I get from here?
That's
you know?
the whole scenario that is playing out in our political space. So you hear about coalition. These are politicians, seasoned politicians. These are people that will now tell you that they want to grab power. Nobody's talking about manifesto. Nobody's talking about the agenda for the children yet unborn.
The funny part of it, you know, there's somewhere I saw some governors talking about 2027. I was like, what is wrong with us? Are we cursed? Taking care of the citizens is a problem. You've not even done 2 years. 2 years is not down. And you're talking about 2027 while people are suffering. What have you done in the one you are having? The power you're holding. What have you used it to achieve in the lives of the ordinary citizens of the nation? And you're here talking about 2027. So they don't even care what you're facing. They don't care what you're going through. Their problem is, how am I going to hold on to this power without relinquishing it in the second tenure?
Well, that's just crazy. But then let's go to see what we have on the next paper for review this morning, and that's the Vanguard newspaper. And then the banner headline is the subsidy removal. Oil marketers expand borrowings by 76.5% to 3.0 trillion naira. And profits up to 49.9% to 420 billion naira. And then as their cost of doing business rises, that's 78.9% to 156.9 billion. Rises by 57.9% to 5.3 trillion. Analysts, economic experts link situation to deregulation, says investors are up to higher dividend. Deregulation has been very costly to business citizens, thus coming from Dr. Yusuf. And let's see what we have here. 28 passengers burnt to death in Ondo auto crash. Telecom tariff hike. Federal government meet NLC leaders over tomorrow's protest. Again, First Bank abuses court processes. And then we have there, Nasima Neka slam presidential aid for threatening fresh electricity hike.
You know, I don't know. Every right-thinking Nigerians should be worried about the latest in the trend of burnings on our roads. You know, every right-thinking Nigerian. Yesterday, I saw some people shouting. This is, I think they said it's GUO bus or something, and there was a baby that was brought out. They said the mother is already dead, that anybody that knows the baby should come. This happened yesterday. It was yesterday I saw the video. I don't know when it actually happened. And you talk about the tanker that burnt in Enugu, Ugwuonyama, and so many other areas. In fact, this January, there was the one that happened in Niger that killed almost 98, you know, according to report. And now we are seeing 28 passengers again. Maybe the both vehicles that collided actually burnt, and everybody in the vehicle, you know, gone just like that. I think this should be worrisome, because is there anything in our fuel? You know, is there anything happening that once it happens, lives will be lost, and nothing is being done to, you know, ameliorate this? I don't know. I
think first and foremost, the nature of the roads Nigerian drivers, even Nigerian citizens fly on is very, very appalling. And you know, fuel, and then you now think of the poverty, like the one that happened in Niger State where people went scooping fuel, and that was why there was that massacre, more like, you know, that, you know, case of where several people got burnt. In fact, they said the figures were unaccounted for. So
I know, because for papers to report 98, you know, that means it could be
Did
more.
you see the video before the actual event? I saw the video before the actual event. What I saw in that less than 2 minutes video was close to about 500 people, different people trying to, you know, scoop the residue of fuel and the rest of it. So the roads are terrible. And that's why we keep saying, when you talk about Nigeria clamoring to be amongst the League of Developing Nations.
And even those driving the vehicles.
That's what I'm saying.
You know.
In more sane climes, you find things like this, combustible, highly flammable substances like fuel, aviation gas, and the rest of it all, are being ferried through the rail, where you have less chances of human contact, where you have less chances of hazard that will claim so many lives.
And there's another thing. They talk about those tankers that are built here, the ones that are constructed here, and the ones that are foreign, that when those ones fall, there will be no spillage because of the way it was built. But the ones that normally spill, content are the ones built here. So I don't know whether our people cannot learn from others. How do you do it? Or how, or if government will bring those ones and make it affordable so that our people...
Then the price will not fall on you that go to buy the fuel.
The truth of the matter is that we are trying to suggest ways...
You understand?
Ways we can actually... These things could stop. Because when I know that if I buy a tanker made here, that once it falls, the content will spill.
The only way this can probably be effective is when you're constructing your filling station, right from the ones that you bury underground, your storage tanks.
Okay.
Maybe DPR, you understand, Directorate of Petroleum Resources, will now come and then inspect
it,
your tanker, and then get to inspect the tanks that ferry the goods. And then the ones that even go to the jetties to get this fuel. If all those inspections are gone, if your tanker is locally made and maybe it doesn't pass the test in order to withstand, you won't. They will just send you packing. So that way we can begin to limit the chances of all this. But then, fix the roads first. If you have a good road, and then let the drivers equally be tested before they enter the wheels to drive. Some of them are on drugs and the rest of it all.
And the mental health of Nigeria.
The mental health of Nigeria. So there are a whole lot of things that you will now put together to now say, these are the indices responsible for this high rate of incessant, collapse and then fires and the rest of it all happening around. The next paper, that will be the Daily Independent.
Okay. Is it the Punch?
Okay, the Punch.
Next.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Punch newspaper. Now, an electricity tariff hike looms as federal government plans to end subsidy. Why banks cannot lift order defreezing GHL's account coming from First Bank. Now, the story of Ayuba Bello, how OPE's scholarship sustained a family's livelihood. We also see other stories, frozen accounts, First Bank misrepresenting court rulings, says GHL. And we see Dangote price slash. Marketers with imported fuel fear losses. We have a rider there. Dealers say stiff competition forces Dangote refinery price slash to 890 naira per litre. NCDC tightens airport surveillance as Uganda battles Ebola. I believe Ladoja has information on Bola Ige's murder. That's coming from Akonde. Okay, that's the much we have in front of the Punch newspaper. All right, talking about price slash, about marketers with imported fuel fear losses. I was looking to see maybe 200 naira slash. I was looking to see 200 naira, 890 naira. Is it not high?
It's still anything above 300 naira to me, as far as I know.
It's still very high.
Still, because if you consider the purchasing power of an average Nigeria, vis-a-vis what you buy for fuel that everybody, the economy of this country evolves around, you will know that 890 naira is still very much on the high side.
There's something about our country. Sometimes I wonder the kind of system we run. When you make a policy, I think the ideal thing is to go out to the street. Maybe you take 1 month or 2 months. You make, you go out to sample opinions and see what you have implemented, what it's like, whether the people are faring well, what is happening with it. But I don't know whether they check these things. Make a policy, let the implementation begin. Then now sit back and take your time to find out from the people whether the policies you have made is killing the people you are ruling or actually making them to be better. I think when that is done, they will know that or the kind of policies to put in place for the people they are leading.
Well, from the way from what you just said now, Nigeria, if Nigeria were to be categorized as a marriage, I would just say that the head of the family, which is the father, in the case of Nigeria being the marriage institution, is
in Africa.
Yeah, is more like dishing out instructions, dishing out
without even caring,
without consulting the wife or the children to know if it all goes well for them. So that's more like a bully kind of a relationship that you're having, because you're not sampling the mind of your wife, the children that you have. You don't just bring ideas, you let it sink down. You ask one or two things, because if
it doesn't work, you re-strategize.
You re-strategize. Even if you're the one bringing the bulk of the money. But at least you wouldn't want the money that you bring to the table to be wasted. So if you want to tighten the belt, the children should adjust to the tightening of the belt and know that maybe 3 square meal is no longer affordable. It's 2 square meal. You don't just come and then from 2 square meal, you just okay now they're all one milk. So I think the issue about policy making in Nigeria is not just making the policies, but then there is no adequate sensitization to go about to get to know these people that you're festering these policies on. What is going to be their reaction?
You look at the way the hike started, all of a sudden, no time to wait. And immediately he said it. All the people that have failed before changed prices.
On that date, I was meant to travel, you understand? So I decided, okay, let me travel a day after. So I booked before traveling. That was on the road, not by air. What saved me was that I had booked before, you understand? Do you know that on that day we were meant to travel, fuel was being sold at 600 naira at filling stations. Something that was sold 203 naira 2 days ago. And even the 600 naira, most filling stations refuse to sell, telling you that they don't have fuel. So luckily enough, our driver had already procured fuel. But on getting close to Lagos, because I was traveling to Lagos, we now had to buy 500 naira. For something that was sold just 2 days ago. The driver was crying when he was buying the food. He said because this is not captured in the money he collected from the passengers in this vehicle that most of us booked a day or two before this trip.
All right, let's now say that they didn't go to the field to find out what is going on with the policies they've made so far. Now Nigerians have been complaining everywhere, and they are still talking about hiking this electricity tariff now, electricity tariff now. And we are not done with telecom tariff that the NLC said they are going for demonstration tomorrow, and some people are calling them to calm down to not to go for the strike they planned and all whatnot. So I don't know the kind of system that we run in this place. Do we have the interest of the masses at heart, or just for our own pocket and that of our family?
Well, like Atiku stated in the Daily Times, he said this Tinubu's snatch and grab agenda will destroy Nigeria's democracy. And we're already seeing that. There is nothing, even a child that is newly giving birth to already knows and feels the pinch of what is happening in this country.
All right, quickly, the next paper, the Daily Independent newspaper.
Estimated, that's the banner headline, 2025 budget, estimated 13 trillion naira funding gap may compound real sector growth. That's coming from experts. And the writer there says consumers' income erosion may push additional 13 million Nigerians into poverty. CBN reforms improving diaspora remittance. Tax reforms may stimulate growth. I find that very difficult to believe. Nigeria strengthens Ebola preparedness.
They lower the price.
Nigeria strengthens Ebola preparedness as Uganda confirms outbreak. Tariff hike. Telso subscribers may migrate to Starlink. That's good. Tinubu sticks to snatch and grab agenda, no plans to strengthen Nigeria's democracy. That's coming from Atiku. We've seen that. Serap urges Tinubu to probe missing 260 billion in Ministry of Petroleum Resources, PTDF. Buhari, Tinubu's undemocratic credentials have taken APC to early grave, says ex-APC vice chair. And then we have Owando records strong performance, posts 65.5 billion profit, 41.1 trillion revenue.
4.1.
Okay, for 4.1 trillion revenue. And that's all we have for you there in the Daily Independence newspaper. Quickly, let's see what we have on this day. Trade war, Canada, Mexico, China set to retaliate Trump's sweeping tariffs. And then 2025 Grammy Awards, Thames wins Best African Music Performance. And then the banner headline there is talking court stops custom from collecting excise duty on non-alcoholic carbonated beverage. And the writer says, declares Ministry of Finance secular, null, and void. Stops custom from collecting transport feeding allowance from NECA. We have First Bank admits defect in Mareva case, 6 appeal without due process. GHLC's desperation. Owando, okay, we've seen that. That's the much we have there.
You know, it's funny when I read this foreign news this morning, the issue of trade war between Canada, Mexico, China. They are set to retaliate Trump's sweeping tariffs. You know, I was just saying, do me, I do you. God no go vex. You know,
like.
China said they are going to. They didn't mention what they are going to do anyway, but. Mexico and Canada say they are increasing their own tariff for goods that will be coming from the U.S. Let it not be like it's only us that push goods to U.S.
Yeah.
U.S. equally bring goods to our own countries. Let's retaliate, you know, by knowing how many percent increase did they add. We are going to do our own. So it's a one thing. So if you think that the ball stops in your court, we're going to tell you that. You have to think again.
Yeah, sincerely speaking, the issue about what Trump is even embarking on, to me, doesn't seem a wise thing to do. If America is being viewed as the power, you know, the superpower of the world, you understand, it should be in the policies that you think that will bring stability to other regions, that will bring growth to your own country. This ICE issue on this repatriation and the rest of it all, how well will it benefit America? The workforce of America, the greater percentage of the workforce of America are these undocumented immigrants. Undocumented immigrants. You have lots of them in the farms.
And I don't know whether you watched a video on the social media where somebody made a video and saying that the streets are free, that nobody in the streets, people are running away because of fear of deportation to their countries.
You know? I didn't see the video, but then
I saw the video.
It's crazy. And now, if you send undocumented migrants away to do the work, will Americans do the job for the peanuts that you guys pay?
That's the question on the lips of most people that have spoken with.
So these are the things that you need to consider while you're embarking on this thing. Now, good enough, America. What is the population of America? Less than 500 million. But you have a country like China, 1.4 billion. You have India, 1.5 billion. And these countries have not started doing stuff because they know that these migrant workers still have a role to play in their economy. So these are what you need to do. You say that the migrants are the ones bringing about drug and the rest of it all to your country. What you need to do is improve your security in order to
Can they bring it without collaboration?
Exactly. So these are all the kind of things you think. So I think the young man there is unpopular with this idea of this ICE issue and deportation. So the earlier the American Congress and the rest of it all needs to arrest this, the better for America, because by the time they will get, they will get exactly how bad. They might no longer be the top gun in the world of superpower, because China is not relenting. China is spreading its tentacles to other parts of the world in order to. What do you do with 1.something billion in your country? You need to send them elsewhere. You understand? And technology-wise, these guys...
This your statement need to be looked into.
But it's true.
They need to watch it.
They need to watch it, because before you know what's happening, America will no longer be the top.
Exactly what the scripture says. He that think stands.
Exactly.
To take heed,
lest
he fall.
Before you know what's happening, in fact, I'm sure that China will be so happy that a thing like this, because you're depleting your power. the more you go about this thing. There are some people that are undocumented, but the role that they play in the community they find themselves is huge and humongous. And when you take away such things like that, you begin to have a system that struggles.
In other words, you should look at, finding people that commit crime. I think that should be the area they should be looking at, in terms when it comes to deportation. Once you find that you're a problem, or you've been in the system as you've committed crime, you've been to prison and out of prison, this should be the area they should be looking at. Let's quickly move to the Guardian newspaper. I think that's the paper, the next paper we are looking at. Let's see stories. Anxiety over oil output, exploration as 55 licenses expire this year. The story, okay, we've seen this story before. Other stories, experts, CDWR fault electricity telecom tariffs hike. State governors and lost full appetite for more airports. Obasa's ousting divides APC as factions battle for control. Oando, announces 65.5 billion naira profit, 4.1 trillion naira revenue in 2024. Telcos prepare 50% tariff hike set for rollout in March. UNILAG chapter plans protest as Southwest MD Khan begins a strike today. And Obi decries plight of pensioners, calls for humane leadership. This is a very strong one. Pensioners that will serve 35 years, some serve less than 35 but retired as a result of age. And you know what happens with civil service? Whatever they are passing through, they are patient that at the end of it all, their pension will come, fall back on. At the end of the day, you're telling them stories about it. I think Nigeria need to learn a lot from developed countries, in as much as our leaders go there every now and then. I don't know what they learn or what they pick from there. Because if I come to your house, maybe for holiday, I should be able to replicate some of the good things I learned from your house in my own house.
That is if you have interest of your family at that.
Have we?
Like most of our leaders don't have.
That is what it should be.
Yeah.
I remember that time when I got married newly. There's this my nephew that always come to my house. So the mother said that immediately the boy returned home, all their pots, they cook in firewood. Me, I cook with gas. So, but all the pots in my house, there's no dirt.
Spot, yeah.
Yes. So the boy now went home and carried all their pots they are cooking on and started washing. So this should be what you learn something. You go back to your place and replicate it. What you have learned. We just go there to maybe rest and stash out
and count bridges and high-rise buildings.
And we're back here. Okay.
Let's see what we have on the Daily Trust newspaper, and I will take it with the Tribune because of time. And quickly, let's see what we have here. Federal government plans electricity tariff hike. Consumers, fresh tariff hike. Consumers react. And Muslims in Southwest have rights to set up Sharia panels. That's coming from the JNI. All marketers now loading petrol from PH Warri refineries. Petron. NLC nationwide strike against telcos tariff hike and error. That's stakeholders. Quickly, let's see the Tribune newspaper. The Nigerian Tribune, 2027 Northern Leaders Coalition proponents write off PDP. Ex-military leaders, other stakeholders endorse coalition. Proponents may announce new platform late February. Leaders yet to agree on presidential standard bearer. LND playing lead roles. Source. Tinubu not worried by gathering of opposition. Presidency. We've seen that story. Lagos speakership. Tinubu not reinstating Obasa. What has Tinubu got to do with that? I don't understand. That's source. Middle-aged man killed in Ibadan. Police launch manhunt for killers. No positive orders made on court processes to bind banks or GHL. Quickly, the last paper for review this morning, the blueprint.
All right, quickly, we see the stories coming from the blueprint. Presidency to Nigerians on 2027. Ignore opposition spreading ill will against Tinubu. You see what I was saying before now? No interest of the masses at heart. It's just their own interest. They want to remain on seat. And nobody is even praying, if God keeps me alive, because you'll be here today. You'll not be here tomorrow. Now, Nigeria on red alert as Uganda confirms Ebola outbreak. We have a rider there. NCDC heightens surveillance, says Lassa fever cases dropped. Now, Americans may feel pain from tariffs, but will be worth the price. That's coming from the President, Trump. MPLFL, Heartland Hammer Rivers United in Owerri. Equity market gains 1.95 trillion naira in January. 3,000 Kaduna pilgrims got 2023 Hajj refunds coming from officials. And that's just about it on the Blueprint newspaper.
Let me see the rider on that banner headline there. Atiku Obi Kwankwaso, others should drop presidential ambition.
Says who?
Look, man. Says they may be worse leaders. They may be worse leaders. You understand? So I don't know. Well, I don't really, sincerely speaking, when you have politicians, talk about 2027, that sometimes when these people talk, is it that they have where they kept their life and they are sure that 2027
that's what they will be there. Because when you're planning something, say if God allows,
I don't understand.
If Jesus tarries.
You understand? The way they just shove it down our throat, as in maybe their life is in one safe deposit, shelf somewhere.
Or they even hold it.
You understand? So the way people talk about this, why can you say ignore opposition spreading ill will against Tinubu? What is ill will about what we are facing in this part of the country?
Reality on ground.
You understand? Sometimes when people, if my father were to come and make this, and I will go home and tell him, Dad, that I'm comfortable doesn't mean people around me are comfortable, for Christ's sake. You understand?
How many people will think like that in Nigeria?
No, but
how many people?
Now I sat down the other day and I was wondering, there's something really fundamentally going wrong in this country. I remember when I was in primary school, for instance, in my class, we had people from the 6 geopolitical zones. In that same class, you will see somebody that the parents are living in Sokoto, and that guy is schooling in Umuahia. We were cut across every nook and cranny of this country in one class. And now, in that same class, you will have the DG's daughter in that class. You will have somebody that works in the ministry, maybe a cleaner.
But not anymore.
The son is in that same class. So we had a classroom that had every strata of what Nigeria owns. But it no longer happens. In this generation, it no longer happens. Because a class has been totally wiped off. Totally wiped off. So your child can go to primary, nursery, primary school, secondary school, without ever having any contact with anybody from south, southeast, northwest, any part.
And even, and even the NYSC that was created.
Now people are busy manipulating where to go and serve.
And somehow you don't blame people because of insecurity. For instance, during our own time, when I wanted to go for service, so many parents were crying. I was posted to Zamfara State. So many parents did not allow their children to go to Zamfara State. You know why? That was at the heat of Sharia law. They were afraid that their child may step into men's this thing and will be caught and stuff. And I went to Zamfara that time, and we saw a taxi. When you see a taxi with the head of a woman, that is the one you enter as a woman. When you see a taxi with the head of a man, that is the one you will enter if you're a man.
So who drives the taxi of the woman?
Was
it a female driver?
I can't remember. But now, talk about a new service. You can move with boys to go out to do one thing or the other. So what happens when they see both of you? So that thing alone made so many parents to, deny their children going for youth service. So somehow I don't really blame people when it comes to that. But I think that Nigerians or our leaders should do something. Let's get back to or if not, like somebody will say, if I don't want to marry you again, I should allow you to leave, you know. But for as long as we remain Nigerians, that something should be done for us to remain one Nigeria, one indivisible entity. All right, I don't know which other stories we are looking at before we wrap up the show.
The Tribune, let's just talk on that before we wrap it up. The rider there says ex-military leaders, other stakeholders endorse coalition. And then when you hear things like this and you begin to wonder, okay, now, if ex-military leaders are endorsing coalition and then proponents may announce new platform late February. This will still be the coalition and the assemblage of disgruntled politicians.
My dear, it can never be different from what is already on ground. Because look at PDP, look at APC. They keep recycling. You know, you move from here to there. And there are so many people in PDP and APC at the same time today. So what are we saying? You know, if they really want to do something, they should do. And there's this video trending, you know, where Adams Oshomole was actually accusing ex-military people, ex-generals, as people mining mineral resources.
Solid minerals.
Yes, carrying it away in this country. And he was saying it with every assurance that he knows what he was saying. So the same people are now going to form coalition to come and rule Nigeria. Anyway, time will tell.
Thank you so much for being part of what we're doing here. That's the much we can take on the press review this morning. And up next, we'll be having our discussion segment, and we'll have something very, very interesting to talk about, and that will be the implications of Nigeria's acceptance as BRICS partner. Well, the details of that will definitely come to you when we move on to the next segment, which is the discussion segment. I still remain Anjuli Chukwu Okabwe.
And I'm Nonye Mokoye. Thank you so much for always being there for ABS.
Meet you at the other side.